Hi everybody, in this video I want to show some of the DC Universe Classics custom figures that I've been working on for the past month or so. What you see here is my attempts to make a Golden Age Superman and Batman as they appeared in the Justice Society of America comic books. So the Batman figure is actually one that all I did for this one was a simple head swapped. So I think that the, I honestly can't remember the body and the head. I know the head is from the Wave 1 DC Universe Classics Batman, but I believe it was the re-release of the Batman in the All-Stars wave that they did. The body for this Batman, I believe, was actually a much newer figure from the Batman Unlimited series of figures that Mattel put out. And honestly, all I did was I just swapped the heads out because I wanted the Batman with the black bat emblem and then the black on the front of the mask, because that's how a lot of his appearances were during the 40s. And for the Superman figure, this is one that I just finished. It is actually a very old figure, though, because this is from the DC Superheroes line that Mattel did before DC Universe Classics actually began. So, this Superman, like I said, he is an older figure, and he has a bit of trouble standing and staying put. So I've had this figure since he came out, and once all of the DC Universe Classics figures, Superman versions of Superman came out, I kind of didn't really have a place for this one anymore, with it being an older figure and not quite as good as the newer DC Universe Classics. So I saw this figure kind of in the back of a shelf, and I thought, well, I can, use this figure and go ahead and repaint it and turn it into the Golden Age Superman, or if you prefer, the Earth 1 Superman, who served in the Justice Society in the 40s. So that's what I did here, and if I can move him without him falling over, that would be great. So the body of the figure, I just painted a lighter blue color, and then the S symbol is actually a sticker that I printed. So you can see that it's in the style of the Earth 1 or Golden Age Superman. And then I painted in the yellow, and I painted the belt to match the yellow. And then I gave him the gray temples, so I just painted the sides of his head gray. And yeah, I did a few coats of the lighter blue, and I think it came out really well. And in fact, I think that I may be repainting some other Superman figures this blue color, because I really like kind of the lighter baby blue color that this, Superman has. And if you've watched some of my other videos, you know that I do like to redo or kitbash or customize a lot of the Multiverse figures that are in stores now by McFarlane Toys. And I've seen a couple Walmarts that have a whole bunch of the Rebirth Superman on the shelves. So I'm probably going to wait until the Rebirth Superman goes on really low clearance, and then I'll probably buy one and just paint it this lighter blue color, and then, paint the shorts, of course, to give him the red trunks, and then just have that version as well. So that'll be probably an up-and-coming project. But yeah, I really like how this light blue turned out. I think these two together, the Superman and Batman, look great. And yeah, I'm very happy to have these guys. So I'm going to show you 4 other custom figures here, and they were a lot more work than these 2, for sure. Because, like I said, the Batman was just a simple head swap. The Superman was just a matter of painting him and then getting the sticker printed for the S symbol, because I wasn't about to try to paint or draw that by hand. So let's take a look at some of my other new custom figures, and you will see there is definitely a theme with all of these, because they are all going to be Justice Society figures or Golden Age heroes, or however you want to put it. So first off the bat, we have my Johnny Thunder custom figure. So this guy was quite a bit of work, and the base body that I'm using, the figure is just having a terrible time standing. So I actually have him where one foot is almost not on the ground at all. But it works. This is how he's actually stayed standing for a while, so I'm pretty confident now that it's going to stay there. So the body is the Marvel Legends arcade figure, and the bow tie for the arcade figure was actually really, really comically huge. So I actually removed the bow tie, heated it up with a hairdryer, popped it out, because it's just a little peg and a little hole, and then I actually cut it down to be more of a normal-sized bow tie. And then, of course, I had to paint it. So that's the bow tie. So the bow tie did actually come with the body of the figure. Now, you know, one thing, if you're into painting figures or customizing figures, one thing that you probably know is the color that you're trying to cover up can sometimes be a little challenging. So for this one, I was kind of lucky and then kind of not lucky, because the suit of the arcade figure was white. So of course, you know, painting over white with this darker green, that was pretty easy. But then the inner shirt, you know, I believe that was green to start off with. So anytime you're trying to cover something with white paint is pretty tough. So I think I did a pretty good job painting the figure. You know, the green looks pretty good. I painted in, like, the buttons and the little handkerchief and stuff. Now, the feet is not the original feet. So you're going to see the feet in a bit here. But I actually swapped the feet out with different feet. And then the feet that I originally put on him, I thought the feet were the problem with the figure not standing. And it wasn't the problem. So I swapped them with actually better feet, better looking shoes, because these are more like dress shoes kind of thing. And I think the shoes actually came off of the Marvel Legends Nick Fury figure. But yeah, it was pretty easy swapping out the feet. You just kind of, you know, heat them up and then, you know, pop them out just carefully, because the peg is pretty small. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Now, as far as the head sculpt goes, this one took me quite a while to repaint and to get just right. And it's still not perfect, but it's a lot better than a few of my other tries. I've probably tried about 4 different ways and 4 different colors and all that. So I think he is as good as he's going to get. Now, of course, I should have looked up the name of the character for the head, but of course I didn't do that. So the head is a Marvel Legends MCU figure. Honestly, he is a SHIELD agent. He was in The Winter Soldier, and all I can remember is it's the same actor who played Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit movie, and that's all I can remember right now. But yeah, so that is actually his head. I had to paint the face to match the neck and the hands. The hands, I can't remember what figures they came from. I have a big, just, you know, container of random hands from Marvel Legends figures. So, but I liked kind of the snapping finger hand. I thought that matched Johnny Thunder's personality really good. But yeah, the face I painted, I had to sculpt a little bit of, you know, around like the mouth and neck area. And then I painted, obviously, the hair bright yellow, because Johnny Thunder has the blonde, yellow hair. So, just for a comparison here, here is Johnny Thunder next to his Justice Society teammate, the Golden Age Atom, Al Pratt. And as you can see, they look pretty good. I know that the Johnny Thunder figure is a little short, and I think one of the reasons for that is just the way I have to stand him. Like, if I could stand him totally up straight on, you know, his flat feet, he would probably be a little taller. And obviously Al Pratt's supposed to be super short anyway, and they made the figure a normal size figure, but that's okay too. But yeah, I think they look fine together. And, you know, I'm sure you're all wondering, what about Johnny Thunder's actual power, which is not his power. He's just friends with a genie who basically has unlimited powers, right? So that is something I'm still thinking about. So obviously he still needs to, you know, to have him. Obviously that is a very, very unique type of design, and still thinking about it. So if any of you have any ideas about how I can make the genie to somehow, you know, attach to him or wrap around him or something like that, please put some ideas in the comments. I would really appreciate it. Some of my, you know, best videos have been my videos with all my custom figures that I make. And some people have been leaving some really great comments and some really helpful suggestions, and I really appreciate that a lot. So if you have any, you know, suggestions or some constructive criticism, if you just want to say things like, you know, these look terrible, you know, whatever, that's fine, but that's not too helpful to me. So yeah, just feel free if you have any ideas or anything, and if you think these look pretty good, let me know that as well. I appreciate that. All right, so let's get rid of these two, and let's move on to the next figure I want to show you. So this one has been tons of work, and I'm going to say he's maybe about 98% done. He could stand a little bit more paint and a little bit more kind of here and there, but like I said, he is just about done, and I may leave him just exactly how he is. I haven't decided yet. So, this is the Golden Age Mr. Terrific figure, and this one, like I said, was a lot of work. The base body is the Marvel Legends J. Jonah Jameson, the newest one that came out. I think it was with the Armadillo wave. So that's the base body, if you can believe it, because this one uses a lot of different parts from a lot of different places. So starting with, I guess we just work our way down here. So starting with the head sculpt, okay, this is actually the movie Lex Luthor figure from Mattel. So Lex Luthor from Batman vs. Superman. That's what head this is, and then obviously I've painted it red, probably put about 4 coats of red on there, to do Terry Sloan's mask. He has one of those, you know, classic kind of, you know, 40s superhero mystery men kind of mask. And then, you know, I had to paint the face, and then, well, actually I painted the face originally because, what gave me the idea to use this head is I was using it for a custom Professor X figure, and then I found the actual Marvel Legends Professor X figure for a really good price on Amazon, the one that comes with the hover chair. So I bought that, and then my, you know, custom Professor X kind of went by the wayside because I had the actual real one. So I had this head, and I was thinking, okay, well, what could I do with it? And then I got kind of the ball rolling on this idea of doing the Golden Age Mr. Terrific figure. So that's the head. Again, not sure where the hands came from because I'm never quite sure. I think this one might be a Shang-Chi hand, that one there, and then this grippy hand, who knows, it could have come from anywhere. It may have actually come with this figure, now that I think about it. The belt is from Rock Python, I do believe. So I painted the buckle on there, and I painted it with a couple, you know, layers of just black paint. And then the shoes, I told you would see these shoes. So these are actually the shoes from the Marvel Legends arcade figure. So the shoes that I removed from the figure that became the Johnny Thunder figure went onto this figure. And the main reason for that is the J. Jonah Jameson figure was really short, like too short, if you ask me. So I needed to give this figure added height, so that he would fit in with the rest of the Justice Society DC Classics figures. So that's what I did. These shoes are like, you know, kind of platform shoes. I painted them black so you wouldn't quite notice just how tall they are there, because you don't really see it when he's posed like this. You don't really notice how tall they are. But he needed something to give him some added height. And, yep, so there we go. Now, as far as, you know, obviously the most challenging was his classic, you know, trademark fair play, I guess you could call it, symbol on his costume. So this started out as a sticker. It took a few stickers to kind of get it on there and get it looking right. And then, you know, of course, I had to paint it and, you know, do the lettering with some black paint. And, yeah, it was a lot to do. And like I said, I don't think that this figure is 100% done yet. He could definitely use just a little bit more touching up, in the chest and neck. But he's pretty good. I mean, for as challenging as it was, I would say he's pretty good. And I mean, it's so obvious who he is. I mean, obviously he is the Golden Age Mr. Terrific who is in the Justice Society. So speaking of the Justice Society, let's see him alongside a teammate. So here is Our Man. And you can see that Mr. Terrific is still definitely too short. But, you know, it's not exactly like he's known for being a super tall guy. And just as a custom figure, a figure will probably never, ever get from anybody in this scale because, of course, DC Classics and DC Multiverse through Mattel have been done for quite a while. And the McFarlane figures would not match up at all whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, maybe one of these days down the road, some other figure will come along. You know, even like an Our Man base body would be pretty good to use with this guy, but I'm not about to buy another Our Man DC Classics figure. You know, I'm just going to say he's not cheap. He's not crazy expensive, but he's definitely not cheap. And when I customize figures, when I do these kit bashing and when I do all these, you know, painting of figures and stuff, I am not looking to spend very much on this. Because if I spend a lot on one of these custom figures, I might as well just buy something new. Even though, obviously, a Mr. Terrific like this doesn't even exist. But yeah, you know, if I happen to be like at a toy show somewhere and somebody is selling, you know, DC Classics figures that are maybe in like really bad shape or something and they're selling them for real cheap, then yeah, sure. I mean, I'll definitely buy some parts and whatnot. But I think he looks pretty good. I do definitely think that he as long as it's obvious who he is, I think that's my important thing when I do these custom figures. All right, so let's take a look at the next member of the Justice Society. My next custom figure is none other than the Star-Spangled Kid. So this one was a pretty fun little project. It took me actually quite a while to finish him. Believe it or not, the belt was the thing that was holding me up. So I had the figure taken apart and pretty much painted and ready to go, and I just figured there's no sense of putting this figure back together again if I don't have a belt for him. So a couple days ago, I was at a GameStop, and they had the, and I knew I was going to forget the name. I had it, and then I had lost it. It was a Marvel Legends figure. It was on super clearance. You know, when I think of it or when I look it up, I'll put it down in the description. But yeah, so it was, I think, $9 at GameStop. And then, you know, after using my, you know, rewards membership thing. So yeah, this figure was basically like $5. So it's not the figure's body, and that I actually have planned for a later custom that I'll show off probably in a few weeks or a couple months or however long it takes me to finish it. All I needed from this figure that I found at GameStop was his belt. And actually, it might be kind of fun. Can any of you figure out what figure it is, since I can't remember his name? What figure did this belt come from? So if you know, let me know in the comments if you know which Marvel Legends figure that belt comes from. That would be, I think, pretty fun. So I get the figure, I get home, get out the hairdryer, of course, and I start taking the figure apart, and just so I can have this belt. So the base body for Sylvester Pemberton here is actually a Power Rangers Lightning Collection base body, because I was at Target a few weeks back, and they had the disguised Andros figure, and I price checked it, and it was, I think, $11.99. Or no, it was, I think it was $6.99. Yeah. It was $6.99. So I thought, hey, you know what? I kind of wanted the soft goods cloak that he wears. I wanted that for a Star Wars figure. I think I ended up putting it on an Anakin Episode 2 figure. Because I just thought it would look really, really cool on, you know, like a Star Wars Jedi 6-inch figure. And it actually does look really, really cool. I should probably show that at some point, too. But, yeah, so I just thought, well, you know, this Andros figure, if you take it apart, it's just literally a blank canvas. It's a basic 6-inch figure, really good articulation, and, you know, the whole body is just basically black. So if it's black, you can, you know, really paint it anything. He doesn't have any weird appendages or anything coming off. So that worked out great. And, yeah, I decided to use it for the Star-Spangled Kid. So the body is all that. The Lightning Collection Andros disguised figure. The belt we've already talked about. The hands are Marvel Legends figure hands. Of course, I don't know where they came from. I definitely wanted him to have a fist. I just always think that, you know, Star-Spangled Kid, he should have a, you know, a fist. And this was really a challenge because I just figured, hey, you know, Marvel Legends, Power Rangers Lightning Collection, they're both Hasbro, they're both 6-inch figures, and of course the hands would not fit. So I actually had to Dremel these hands to get them to fit into the wrist, you know, holes. So that was crazy. I could not believe, I'm like, I can't believe I had to Dremel down these hands because it was literally the only fist that I had that was the perfect color. So I didn't have to actually paint it, which is great because I hate painting hands and trying to match skin colors. So, yeah, so I had to Dremel it down. It was crazy. And then the head, if you haven't guessed, it's probably kind of easy, and I kind of actually thought it was funny using this head for this figure. But this is a MCU Captain America head. I think it was the very, very first release from the first Avengers movie. And I have a couple versions of that figure, and I think I actually have the figure mint and packaged. So I've had this head laying around for years and years, just a random Captain America figure head sitting in the you know, fodder box. And I thought, well, that's perfect. You know, Captain America, Star-Spangled Kid, you know, definitely a similar theme. So yeah, so I had to paint the sides blue, and it actually looks pretty good if you ask me. You can hardly even tell that, you know, because if you know how Captain America's mask is, you know that it doesn't cover all of his cheeks like that. And then the stars was a fun little project. So I actually already had a sheet of little star stickers. Can't remember where I got it from. I want to say I got it from like Dollar Store or Walgreens or something like that. And they were silver. And actually, I may have gotten them from eBay, now that I think about it, because I needed some stars for my custom Donna Troy figure that I made probably about a year to a year and a half ago. Pretty sure I have pictures on my Instagram of that. So I did a custom Donna Troy and Aqualad Tempest in his blue costume, so I could have, you know, the full set of Titans. And yeah, so I had this sheet of silver star stickers just laying around, and of course I had to paint them white. So these little stars all over him are stickers. So I painted the sticker sheet all white, and then, you know, did a couple coats, let that dry, and then I stuck them all to the figure. Because again, just like I mentioned before with the Golden Age Superman figure, I was not about to try to paint by hand all these little white stars. It would have been a disaster. So honestly, I think this one might be my favorite out of this group of customs that I made. It was kind of a medium amount of work. It wasn't a lot of work. And it didn't cost me tons of money, which is great. And I just think he looks really, really good. I think he came out probably the best. It looks the most like the character that I was going for. So let's go ahead and put in a teammate. So here is the Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick. And, you know, Jay's a little taller, but it works because, you know, Sylvester Pemberton, you know, started out as a kid, and then as he got older, he stayed kind of in his superhero persona. So, you know, this could definitely be a younger version of Star-Spangled Kid. It doesn't have to be the adult version. And again, you know, the other thing, they don't have to be, you know, perfectly in scale. I mean, they're pretty close. So yeah, I think it works pretty good. So if you know your, we'll get rid of Jay Garrick here. If you know your comic book history and your comic book stuff from DC, you'll know that Star-Spangled Kid, he was sort of a member of the Justice Society. It was kind of a retcon kind of thing that they did with Justice Society. And, you know, when they said, oh, it wasn't Wonder Woman, it was Black Canary and all that kind of crazy stuff. And then they had the All-Star Squadron, Infinity Inc., which is one of my favorite stories. And of course, you know, Star-Spangled Kid was their leader / mentor in Infinity Inc. But Star-Spangled Kid was also in another group called the Seven Soldiers, and or the Seven Soldiers of Victory. And there was another character in there who's actually my final custom figure that I want to show you. This one was also quite a lot of work, and it is the Golden Age Vigilante. So, you know, I think these two look great together because, of course, they were teammates in the Seven Soldiers of Victory. And, you know, just another Golden Age character. Many of you probably know this version of Vigilante from the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, which if you haven't seen that cartoon, fantastic cartoon, the Justice League cartoon that spun out of the Batman and Superman animated series. And then it became Justice League Unlimited, and it was just about every DC character you could imagine, except Firestorm, of course, which made me mad because I'm a huge Firestorm fan, and they did not have Firestorm in Justice League Unlimited, which was crazy to me, but, you know, whatever. So yeah, so I'll go ahead and just show off this last custom figure here. And like I said, this one was quite a lot of work. He turned out really well. At least, you know, I think he turned out pretty well here. But yeah, it has a lot of parts. So if you want to go over it here, so the body is the Marvel Legends Luke Cage figure from the TV show. And this figure I actually bought originally a couple years back to do some Power Ranger civilian custom figures. And that I have a video about if you're interested in Power Rangers Lightning Collection. I have a video with all the civilian figures that I made from Season 1, and I used a bunch of Marvel Legends bodies for those as well. But this body was a little bit too big, a little bit too bulky to be, you know, a teenager, to be a civilian Power Ranger. So I kind of scrapped that project, and I just kind of had the figure laying around for a while, you know, not a lot going on with it. And then I was trying to think of some other Golden Age DC heroes that I really like, that I didn't have figures of, that they never made figures of. And Vigilante, of course, you know, mostly from the cartoon, from the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, he was, you know, a very memorable character. So I was looking in, you know, my box of heads and hands and stuff, and I spotted one that I don't even know why I kept it, because it was just not a thing that I would ever really want. And that was a Wolverine head with a cowboy hat. So I'm looking at the Wolverine head wearing the cowboy hat, and I think to myself, that would really be good for a Vigilante figure. So that is where the head comes from. So now you can kind of see it now, probably, if you didn't realize it before. And I did have to do some cutting and some dremeling into the figure's, you know, beard and face, because, of course, you know, the Wolverine figure had all the facial hair and everything. So that is where the head came from. And, of course, I painted the cowboy hat white, so, you know, because Vigilante's hat is white. And then the face mask is kind of a fun one, because this really wouldn't have been possible until recently, because this is the mask that came with the Tommy Foot Soldier figure from the TMNT Power Rangers crossover. So this is literally just the mask part to that Tommy figure, and it was purple, and I painted it red, of course, for Vigilante. So, yeah, a lot of work went into this head. You know, a lot of paint. I had to do cutting, dremeling. I didn't have to do any gluing, which I was surprised, because I really thought I was going to have to glue the mask and everything to the face. And, you know, I really try to avoid super gluing stuff as much as I can, because that takes away any kind of articulation, movement, and it just, you know, kind of ruins it if I ever want to take it apart and do something different with it. So luckily it fit. I mean, once I dremeled down the facial hair and stuff, and I just stuck it on there real good, and it hasn't gone anywhere at all. So it, you know, it looks good, and I didn't even have to glue it on. So that was great. So of course the body of the figure I just painted, you know, had to paint the shirt, the arms, the pants. So the belts were interesting, and it took me a while to really decide how I wanted to do it and how I wanted it to look. You know, there's different versions of Vigilante. There's the animated version from the Justice League cartoon. There's, you know, older comic books, newer comic books. You know, he's been around a really long time, different, you know, costumes and stuff. So it was really hard to kind of figure out exactly how I wanted to do it. I wanted it to look as classic as possible, but I also wanted it to have some, you know, animated Justice League cartoon vibes as well. So the top belt is actually from the Lightning Collection Andros figure. So the body of the figure that went into making Star-Spangled Kid, the belt. So, and I had to cut this, of course, and yeah, I had to glue it a little bit because, it, you know, obviously his waist is way bigger than the Lightning Collection figure was. And then the other holster is from a DC Classics figure, and I don't know which figure it's from. So if you know where this belt and holster came from, I know it's a DC Classics figure, but I cannot remember which one it is. I'd have to do a bit of research on that. And then I do know the guns. So the guns came with the DC Classics Commandy figure. And I had the Commandy figure when it first came out, and I actually used that Commandy figure, believe it or not, to turn it into a Connor Kent Superboy custom figure, and this was many years back. So I've had that gun sitting around for a while, and then, of course, you know, Vigilante has to have two guns, and they have to match. So, went on good old eBay and bought a loose Commandy figure that was in really good shape, complete with all of his weapons and everything. And I thought, well, this is fine because I don't have a Commandy figure, because when I bought it years ago originally, I turned it into a Superboy figure, and I've never replaced it. I've never had that Commandy figure again in my collection. So this way, I get another DC Classics figure that I was missing, and I can take his gun, and now I've got 2 matching guns for Vigilante. And I had him with the guns in his hands, you know, typical, like, you know, pointing the guns and posing them. And I really like how this looks, you know. It's like he's getting ready to, like, grab his guns, you know. And, of course, I had to paint the hands because in most of the comic book versions that I saw online, he had white gloves. And I tried to, like, dirty them up a little bit so they weren't, like, stark white. But, yeah, I think he turned out really good. I mean, he's a little big and brawny, but that works, I think, for Vigilante. So, if I could just bring them all back, because I just want you all to have a chance to see the 4 custom figures that I've been working on for quite a while. It has taken quite a bit of effort to get all these done and good to go. But I think they look great. Yeah, so now my Justice Society shelf in my toy room, if you didn't watch my toy room tour from a few weeks ago, check it out. I have lots and lots of DC figures if you're into DC Comics. And yeah, I'm very happy with these custom figures. And it was a lot of work, but they are pretty much done, ready to go, and ready to go with the rest of the Justice Society figures. So before I close things up here, I just wanted to show one more thing, and these are not custom figures at all, which you'll, you know, be able to tell pretty much right away. But somewhat recently, I bought a few of the DC Essentials figures from the McFarlane Toys website. Around Christmas time, they were doing a huge sale. And I bought them because they were just on sale and they looked great. And I have a few of them mint and packaged, but I wanted to have some loose ones on the shelf. And I never realized just how well they scale with the McFarlane figures. So on the left-hand side is the DC Essentials Nightwing figure from DC Collectibles, which are now, you know, out of business, and McFarlane Toys have taken them over. And then on the right-hand side is the DC Multiverse by McFarlane Deathstroke figure. And you can see that these two scale absolutely perfectly together. And I had no idea, and I wanted to share that with all of you, in case you didn't realize just how well these figures scale together. Because if you collect any of the McFarlane figures, you know they're kind of hit or miss, and some of them are really good, and some of them are terrible, and whatever. But, you know, I really like the Deathstroke figure. I think he looks really cool. You know, he definitely could have come with more accessories, which is another thing I wanted to show real quick here in a second. And the Nightwing figures so far have really been pretty bad. So, you know, Nightwing is one of my favorite DC characters, and not having a good version of him with the, you know, McFarlane kind of 7-inch scale figures it's been bugging me. And, you know, I bought the Essentials figure just because it was on sale, and I was like, yeah, Christmas time, let me get some more toys. And, yeah, it's great, because now I have a 7-inch scale Nightwing figure. I know he's in the red and black instead of the blue and black, and I know it's a New 52 thing, and that is probably my least favorite DC story of all time. I guess you can't even call it a story, a reboot or whatever. But you know what? I really don't mind Nightwing in the red and black. I think it's cool. I think both costumes are cool, honestly. And I like both of them. And I like the idea of him just kind of using either or, depending on kind of what he's doing or what he's up to, you know. So that doesn't really bother me. So I'm just happy that I now have a, you know, properly scaled Nightwing figure to kind of pair with my McFarlane Multiverse, you know, Batman figures, and obviously this Deathstroke figure. They can go up against each other. But just real quick, I also wanted to show off, if you see the Batarang that Nightwing is holding, and it's not in there great, but I've got it in there pretty good. And then the knife and gun that Deathstroke has, these was actually a very nice surprise. So I bought some fodder pieces on eBay from, you know, a seller that I'm pretty sure he does, you know, like 3D printing or whatever. And, you know, one of the pieces, it's not going to work, unfortunately, for the custom that I was planning to use it for. It's still a really cool piece, so I don't regret buying it, but it's just not going to work for the project. But the seller was super awesome, super great, and threw in some extra weapons, just some free extra things. And it had, you know, guns and knives and batarangs. And look how great these weapons go with these 7-inch scaled figures. I was so excited about the whole thing. Because what set off this whole idea for me is, I got the stuff yesterday from eBay, and I was like, oh man, this head's too big, it's not gonna work, it still looks cool, but whatever. And, you know, I'm looking at this bag of extras that he just threw in for free, and I was like, oh, wow, these are really cool looking. So I'm looking and stuff, and I was looking at, like, the guns, and I was like, no, the guns are too big, can't use those for Vigilante, and they don't match. One was, like, an older style gun, one was a more modern gun. And I'm like, yeah, these are, like, kind of big. Like, these aren't going to really work with the 6-inch figures. And I thought, well, wait a second, let me look at, you know, the 7-inch. So I got the Multiverse Deathstroke, and I was like, this gun, I mean, the gun especially looks so good. I mean, it fits in his hand perfect. It fits in his little trigger finger perfectly. I don't remember if this figure came with anything else besides the sword, because all of his holsters and everything are just sculpted on. There's no actual weapons, and it's just crazy to me, because Deathstroke should have tons and tons of weapons. And we're not going to get into the whole, you know, ban on, you know, guns with the action figures, because that is another whole big rabbit hole we don't need to go down right now. But this gun is perfect. So I will definitely check with that seller on eBay and see if they're okay with me sharing their, you know, eBay seller ID. Because if you are looking for weapons to go with your McFarlane figures, and especially because of the gun ban, these are fantastic. I mean, I haven't painted these. Like, this is literally how these weapons came. I mean, I could probably paint this knife silver, you know, the blade of the knife, I could paint silver. And I probably will do that eventually. I just wanted to show these off because they look great just on their own. And they scale perfectly, and they go perfect with these 7-inch scale figures. So then I thought to myself, oh, it's a shame I don't have a, you know, figure to go with this Deathstroke. And then I remembered, wait, that Nightwing Essentials figure, they go perfect. So I know these aren't my custom figures. These aren't really related to Justice Society Golden Age, but I wanted to throw this in here as some extra information, just in case you're like me and you're a big DC fan and a big DC collector, and you're trying to figure out ways to kind of put different lines of figures together, and you're not sure how they're going to look and how they're going to scale together. Well, here you go. The McFarlane DC Multiverse, the DC Essentials, I think they look fantastic together. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, if you want to comment on anything, if you have some suggestions, if you have some guesses about, you know, where the belt came from, or where the, you know, the holster for Vigilante came from, let me know in the comments. And have a good one. Thanks for watching the video.